And good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Hey, I appreciate you being with me so much. Have you noticed I'm up to like 8,600 subscribers? It just continues to creep on up, creep on up. So do me a big favor, okay? If you're a regular viewer of my videos, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Share it if you can. Copy and paste the link and share it with your friends and your neighbors. I'm sharing with you information that is truly important. Now, I will admit, I'm not much of a sensationalist preacher. I don't get in here and say, look, we're living in the end of the age. We are in the last days. I got to share this with you very, very quickly. Just this morning, I had an email from somebody, totally new. Oh, newsflash, okay, newsflash. The 1290 days of Daniel 12, the 1335 days of Daniel chapter 12. This fella, newsflash again, has it all figured out. And so the end of the age is somewhere around, I've forgotten the exact year. I think it's 2061. I have to go back and look at that, okay? But the point of fact is, here is just another example of someone thinking they've got all this mathematical formula worked out. And have you ever noticed all of these people who in the past have told us, we've got this 1290 and we've got this 1335. We got it down pat. One guy contacted me years ago and he said, I'm telling you right now, you are a false teacher. The rapture is going to be in 2015, in October of 2015. That's when Daniel chapter 9 will be fulfilled. And he said, if the Bible is inspired, this will happen. If this does not happen, the Bible is inspired. He didn't consider a third option, that he could be wrong. Well, I responded to him and I said, I appreciate you contacting me, but you are simply wrong. I say that with all humility, with all respect. But I said, here's the deal. When October 2015 comes and goes and the rapture has not occurred, World War III has not broken out, etc., 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 then you will know it is not the Bible that is wrong, it is you. So please, come back and visit me, let's say January of 2016. That'll give plenty of time, plenty of leeway in your calculations. But please, come back, let's study. Basically, I forgot him. It was actually over a year and a half, maybe 2 years later, I happened to find his email again. And I was going, whoa, how about that? I'm still here. Wonder if he's still here. Sent him an email. And I said, please understand, I'm not trying to be arrogant here. I'm simply trying to remind you of what you said to me and of what I said to you in response. And I urged you to contact me when your prophecy and prediction failed. So are you willing to study with me now about Daniel 9 and about the coming of the Lord? He wrote back, I was surprised, and he said, yes, indeed, I was wrong. I simply could not believe it. However, I've gone back and recalculated. I've done more math. Got a new prediction. So I told him once again, prediction's wrong. Your prophecy's wrong. The Bible is not wrong. You are. That date came and went. I haven't heard from him. How many times did Harold Camping set the date for the rapture? Urging people to send him money. And they did, to the tune of millions and millions of dollars. And every single time he was wrong. My question is, how many times, ladies and gentlemen, do people sit down and boy, they got all this math figured out? And do you notice they never ever ever learn from the mistakes of others? They just keep making these prophecies. One of the fundamental errors here, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm talking one of the most egregious errors in all of these prognostications, every single one of them is based upon the idea that the current Christian age will come to an end. And they run to Matthew chapter 13. Harvest is at the end of the age. Now, there are some translations, several of them actually. The Greek manuscript support for it is a little tenuous. I'm not real sure exactly why they chose to insert the end of this age. They might have chosen that because of context. But point of fact is, there are some translations, I will even say a few, all right, even though it's more than just a few, that render it as harvest is at the end of this age. But in all of these futurist paradigms, ladies and gentlemen, it is taken for granted that Jesus was talking about the end of the current age. We call it the New Covenant age. We call it the Christian age. And I've had people tell me, well, your doctrine is false, Don, because the Bible never uses the term Christian age. It never uses the term New Covenant age. We're just waiting for the end of the Messianic age. So this guy calls me a false teacher because I use Christian age, New Covenant age, but he uses the term Messianic age, and that term is never found in the Bible. A little bit, no, a whole lot of hypocrisy going on here. So the great burning question becomes, this is the key to understanding biblical eschatology. The question is, once again, at the end of what age would the harvest take place? I want you to consider the following. In Matthew chapter 13, 39 through 43, through 40 actually, and again later in the chapter, Jesus used a distinctive Greek term that is translated end of the age. Some render it consummation of the age. It still conveys the idea, right? Some age was going to be brought to its consummation. It was going to come to an end. Yesterday, I shared with you the fact that the Bible teaches that the Christian age, the Messianic age, has no end. And yet people come up and they say, well, wait a minute. Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, 21 to 24, then comes the end when he, that is Christ, shall deliver up the kingdom to the Father. And a famous preacher in the Churches of Christ wrote some years ago, his name is Wayne Jackson. We all know, said Wayne, he was a friend of mine at one time. Wayne said, we all know that when Christ comes, he no longer rules. He no longer reigns. He surrenders the kingdom rule to the Father. No, we don't all know that. I used to believe that, and I used to teach it, but it's not the truth. Here's the interesting thing that Wayne Jackson and others overlook. In 1 Corinthians 15, when it says he shall deliver the kingdom to the Father, the Greek word that is used there, if memory serves me correctly, is paradidomi. In some context, it can mean hand over. But hand over doesn't mean abdicate And it doesn't mean surrender. It doesn't mean stop ruling. Consider the following. Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, the very same chapter, in which we are told Christ will one day cease to rule. Now, in the first place, don't lose sight of the fact we have all of these passages that tell us that the kingdom of Christ has no end. The rule of Christ has no end. Isn't that kind of problematic, therefore, to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15, then comes the end. Oh, that's the end of Christ's rule. Say what? Kingdom, rule, reign, on the throne, no end, versus, oh, then comes the end of his rule. Now, atheists, skeptics, agnostics would say, oh, see, that's a contradiction. No, it's a misunderstanding of paradidomi. 1 Corinthians 15, 1 and following. Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel, which you received, by which also you are being saved, if you keep in memory that which I delivered to you. Paradidomi. Let me ask you a question. Did Paul abdicate his authority over the gospel when he delivered it to the Corinthians? Well, that would be kind of ridiculous, wouldn't it? Did he surrender the gospel when he delivered it to the Corinthians? Well, once again, that would be somewhat ludicrous. No, he shared the gospel. Now, notice very quickly that in Revelation chapter 11, I say this very, very commonly. Revelation chapter 11, 15 and following is to me one of the most incredible eschatological texts in the New Testament. And it's absolutely astounding how partial preterists go to this passage and they absolutely admit that it's referring to AD 70. Kenneth Gentry says the sounding of the seventh trumpet at Revelation chapter 11, 15 and following signaled the end of Israel's history, of Israel's covenant age. Okay, thank you. Peter Leithart, Keith Matheson, other postmillennialists freely admit Revelation chapter 11 is talking about the events of AD 70. Well, I will get to this more later, but Revelation chapter 11 is a critical resurrection / harvest / Succot text. It's incredible. So what happens, and by the way, it's the sounding of the seventh trumpet. The seventh trumpet is the last trumpet. According to Paul, what happens at the last trumpet? The resurrection, i.e. the harvest. 1 Corinthians 15, 52. Pardon me. So, that's just a taste of what's to come. Okay. And the seventh angel sounded, and there arose loud voices in heaven saying, the kingdom of this world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ. He will reign forever and ever. Wait a minute. That can't be true according to traditionalism, because at the sounding of the seventh trumpet, which is at the time of the end of the Christian age, or so we are told, that's when Christ surrenders the kingdom. He abdicates his throne. Pardon me. No. At the sounding of the seventh trumpet, which is the time of the resurrection, when he would deliver the kingdom to the Father, he wouldn't abdicate it. That's the time when the kingdoms of this world become the kingdoms of our God and of his Christ. Listen, this agrees perfectly with Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 5, where the Hebrews writer says, he, that is Yahweh, has not put the age about to come of which we speak in subjection to the angels, but to the Son he says, Thou art my Son. This day have I begotten thee, or set at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Okay, what is the age to come? Well, we are constantly told it arrives at the end of the Christian age. You know, when supposedly Jesus surrenders the kingdom and is no longer ruling. He is no longer sovereign over that because the age to come is the end of his rule. Wait a minute. No. Hebrews chapter 2, verse 5. He has not put the age about to come, notice that age was about to come, of which we speak in subjection to angels, but to the Son. The age to come, which would follow the resurrection, would be in subjection to the Son. Of the kingdom rule and of his reign on the throne of David, there is no end. Folks, this is the time of the harvest. There's so much to say on this. So I'll pick this up on the flip side. I'll see you there.